Welcome to Under the Covers, episode 12. I am your host, Nick. This is your host, Jett. And we are wearing headphones today for the first time because we have an extraordinarily special guest that we are excited to introduce. We've never had a guest on the show, and we were super excited to reach out to him. He was very generous with his time and said, yes, I will come on and discuss this song that you're doing. He is the bass player from Strong Arm, also the bass player from Further Seems Forever, Mr. Chad Neptune. Welcome to Under the Covers.
Thanks, Chad.
Hey, thanks for having me.
No, it's super exciting to have you on here. And as a Further super fan, which we'll get into a little bit later, my whole person is like, ooh, this is so awesome. So, we talked a little bit about the show before we got started. And one of the first things I wanted to go over with you, knowing the song we're going to cover, how popular is that song when you guys play this live? Like, what kind of impact does it have?
Oh, it's interesting. I think it's definitely one of our more notable songs. People really like it. I love playing it live. It's one of the songs I really love playing live. We don't always play it live. Mm-hmm. And, depending on which lineup we're actually playing with at that moment. But, yeah, I mean, it seems to connect with people. It's very nostalgic. I think it's a song that paints a picture very well. So I think it connects with a lot of people in that way, and a lot of people in a certain point of their life, it kind of brings them back, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And for the show, we take turns choosing songs, where Jett will choose a song that's important to her and we talk about it, and I choose a song that's important to me, we talk about it. So obviously this is something I was like, can we please do this song? But one of the reasons why I chose this song was because from an audience standpoint, this really feels like something that connects how we feel about the band to the music. But for example, the song is about a fleeting relationship, something that it's not necessarily doomed to fail, but it's just not destined to last. And for the audience, because of, lineup changes and changes to the band, that's always kind of how we felt of like, hey, we don't know what we're going to get next. After the first album, we were like, we don't know what's going to happen. Then we got a second one. And then after...
Yeah, I mean, you're not the only one.
Or you guys are in the same boat. You're like,
I mean, it's like, almost 30 years later, and I'm still like, I don't know. I don't know what we're doing.
Well, from our side, it always seems like you would just surprise us of like, hey, we think that's all we're going to get. And then magically something new happens. And it's super exciting from our side.
They're on tour again. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think, when we were younger, and I think a lot of bands have this, things seem so finite, it's like, I'm never doing this, I'm never doing that. But, in life, you grow, things change, you feel differently. Sometimes things that seemed very important at a time, you can't even remember why it was important. Or, and so we're kind of at this point where we just do it when we do things as they come. We don't purpose out for a specific reason or an agenda anymore. Mm-hmm. And we just do it kind of with this moniker of no pressure. Mm-hmm. If one of the members doesn't want to do it because they want to binge watch Netflix all day, then we're like, okay. We're not necessarily, it's not awesome, but we do it because we want to do it and it's fun for us at this point. We're not career minded when it comes to our music as we maybe once were. So we just kind of do things as it comes.
That's awesome.
No pressure. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's such a relief. I'm going to ask you about this a little bit later. We're going to separate some of this into some Patreon stuff and talk a little bit further. But that's one of the things that you had actually told me at a show a long time ago that always stuck with me. I'd be happy to to put some of that wisdom back in your own face of like, hey, you said this. And you're like, yeah, I totally did say
that. I don't know if it was wisdom, but I mean, but yeah, what show was that?
State Theater, back in maybe 03, where Amberlin was opening for you guys, and I think they were doing Blueprints. Yeah.
Wow, that was a long time ago. So wait, is you in Tampa? Is that where you're at?
Well, yeah, that obviously, like the show is in St. Pete, but yeah, we live in the Sarasota Bradenton area.
Yep. Yeah, we're going back there here soon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're gonna play a show in October at Will's Pub. No, Brass
Mug. Nice.
Yeah. Please let us know if you need an opener.
Yeah. Normally.
That's awesome. We will very likely be there.
Yeah.
That's
awesome.
That's super cool. So I know this is kind of reaching back a little bit into your history, but tell us a little bit, if you can, about the recording of maybe the album or the song in particular, or if I remember correctly, and I think I do, that this was a music video for you guys. This is the first music video that you chose. So talk to us about those decisions.
Well, I don't know how we tip-tap around what song it is without talking about that. But I'll try my best.
We can drop a couple little hints here and there.
Yeah. So we recorded The Moon Is Down with James Wisner. Mm-hmm. And at that time, we had been a band for I don't know, maybe 2 years or something like that, and had been working on, and we just notoriously write music very, very slow. So when it was time to record, went into the studio, and for whatever reasons, there's a lot of things going on in the band, and Chris was doing a lot of stuff. He had started doing Dashboard, and he was doing that, and a lot of the members, we weren't exactly sure how serious we wanted to take the band, like our music career,
Mm-hmm.
So while we were recording, Chris was like, hey, I'm gonna leave, and we weren't sure if we were going to actually finish the record.
Oh, wow.
Because it kind of seems blurry to me now, but there's a lot of reasons, but we felt that we put a lot of time into these songs, and we just wanted to see it, go into the world kind of thing, and just have it,
Mm-hmm.
So Chris was actually recorded vocals, mostly it was him and James. This particular song, we knew exactly how the song sounded and everything. We had been playing it, but some of the songs we weren't exactly sure what the vocals were even going to sound like until we heard the final version.
Oh, that's wild.
Which is interesting. Yeah, so there was just a lot of like uncertainty, around the band at that point. We were also kind of coming out of our teenage years, like our high school years, and just like trying to figure out what we wanted to do with our lives, and was music something that we thought was even a real possibility to pursue.
Mm-hmm.
So we were kind of on that path. And what was the second part of the question? Sorry.
So this was your first music video off of that album.
Oh yeah,
and Jason was actually in the video instead of Chris, because obviously Chris had left by that point. So
yeah, so by the time the record actually, back then, records, you'd record a record and it would take, I don't know, up to like 6 months to actually get released.
Mm-hmm.
It had to get mastered and produced, and go into production for CDs and whatever. And by the time the record came out, I mean, I remember specifically, I was actually doing merch on tour for my friends, Newfound Glory.
Oh yeah.
And they were like doing really well, and um, you know, I was doing merch for them, and when we were in Seattle, where Tooth and Nail is from,
Mm-hmm.
they actually gave me like the pre-release of the record, and I was just like, man, this is such a shame. And kind of just being out on the road at that time, I was just kind of had this desire, like, hey, let's just try to find someone not to necessarily replace Chris, but to act, carry the mantle kind of thing, mm-hmm. So we looked, this is, I can't, when I think back, it probably wasn't a long amount of time, but it seemed like a long time, like between when we actually got connected with Jason and then when we actually like recorded that video. But I guess my point is we did a lot of touring on The Moon Is Down before How Starfire came out, and with Jason at the helm. Mm-hmm. And so Jason had been singing mostly Moon Is Down songs for, it seemed probably for about a year maybe. And, but at some point Tooth and Nail was like, hey, we need to we decided we wanted to be a band still. And so, Tooth and Nail was like, hey, we need to promote something, and we would like to promote this particular song. And we're like, well, we don't have Chris. How do we make a video without us, the singer? So, in hindsight, we should have just probably been like, no, it's okay. We don't need to make a video. But at the time, the whole thing was to try to get your videos on MTV to further your career, right?
Yeah. So when that was the thing.
So we knew it was kind of weird, but we did the video, and we did it in our hometown, and we tried to make it like it was someone that was listening to the song, mm-hmm. and listening with the song. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, that's kind of where that whole thing came from. I don't know if it translated the greatest, but
I think it did. So, I don't think Jett has seen this video, but I remember seeing like the premise of the video was you guys were playing, and Jason was kind of walking along, listening to it on like a Walkman or a disc player, like if that dates it a little bit.
Yeah, it's a little dated. It's a historical piece, but no. Yeah, I mean, and we had our friends. Our friend did it, Jonathan Ray, and his partner. They do a lot of great videos, and they came down and. Mm-hmm. And had a whole concept, and it was a lot of fun to do, actually. So it was a good experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Speaking from a show that is focused on covers, I remember on that might have been on the How to Start a Fire tour, but it might have even been before that. I remember seeing you guys at the State, and you guys covered Pagan Poetry by Bjork. And I have this very, very vivid memory, actually, of seeing you guys doing it and just being blown away. Like, obviously I knew who Bjork was, but I didn't really have a knowledge of her catalog of music. And not only did you guys pull it off, but it was this really cool kind of, I don't want to get too artsy about it, but it was this cool moment of you guys were really just like nailing this song. Somehow, I don't know if you remember, but the State Theater in St. Pete had like a disco ball. They hit that, so everything's like super lit up. And I remember like looking off into like the wings of the stage, and I saw a woman who now I recognize as your wife like singing along, and everybody was just like super like feeling it, which was fantastic. what made you guys choose a Bjork song instead of something like a little more traditionally like in that style that you do?
Yeah, that's interesting that you say that. Well, we were actually asked to do a Bjork tribute record.
Oh, really?
With a bunch of different bands. And I think some other bands did, like we did it. We did the song. Well, first we had to decide what song we wanted to do, and all the obvious ones were taken, right? And all of us in the band love Bjork. You know, she is one of our favorite artists. So it was like, yeah, this would be cool. I don't know how we're going to do it, but okay. And I think like some of the other bands that actually recorded songs was like Piebald and, you know, bands in our genre kind of thing. And it was going to be put out with MCA, and I think they folded at the time, or they sold it, and so it just never got released, right?
Yeah.
But we were always just like, well, we actually really liked how it came out, so we would play it, you know, as much as we could. We still like playing it. And yeah, so that's kind of how that happened, and how we picked Pagan Poetry. Like, we were just listening to like a lot of our songs, and I think at that time that record that song's on was the latest record. And we were just like, yeah, this is the one. I think we can turn this into something that would be kind of ours, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, so
it worked.
Thanks. Yeah, because sometimes, I it's hard to judge whether, because I'm from like the hardcore background in me, like always has this thing in the back of my head that if people aren't like jumping on each other and like yelling in the microphone, then they're not into it, you know? So it's hard to sometimes like be like, oh, okay, no, there's a vibe. People are, they're feeling this, because I'm feeling it. I love playing it. So, but yeah, it's sometimes hard to see, like, and sometimes you're like, man, we just played the worst show, and this guy in front's just looking at me like he's bored the whole time. And then after the show, the guy will come up and be like, that was the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And you're just like,
he wasn't bored. Okay. He was entranced.
Really?
Right.
Yes.
That was me. Like, I'm the one that's sitting there like arms folded, like, this is the greatest thing in the world.
Which, by the way, I realize I'm that guy too.
You know, speaking about like choosing covers and stuff, when we chose this song and we performed it, you know, covers can be tricky, especially when there's only two of us. Of what do you pick out of the song that's, you know, important? And, you know, if we're just doing guitar and vocals, how do we do a song that, you know, in the case of Further Seems Forever, is so reliant on some really like complex instrumentation? Like, this is the first song that I actually had to write out, like, where are they in these lyrics? Because the rhythm is really just non-traditional. And then, you know, you and Steve have this like really wild rhythm section. There's a lot of like arpeggiated guitar. So it was tougher for me as a guitar player to figure out like, okay, what's the important part and what do I keep to kind of make this familiar?
Yeah.
But then, you know, Jett took a really different approach. Like, you know, your fans, I'm not one of these people, but your fans seem to have like a lot of camps of like, I'm a Chris guy, I'm a Jason guy, I'm a John guy, where I was like, I love all of them. Like, bring all of them. I'm fine with that. But you, Jett, you took an approach that sounded a little more like the Sundays, actually. What made you think of, hey, I'm not just going to do a replica of what Chris does. That's their version.
Yeah.
What brought you to the version that we did?
Well, there are some vocalists that I love to emulate, but it doesn't come across. And as much as I love this style of music, it's not going to come across in the vocal range that I have. And to me, it spoke more poetically in like a Harriet Wheeler style Sundays approach. So that's where I kind of lilted some of the lyrics here, and like I stylized them like the way I would. So yeah, that's kind of why.
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes for the most interesting covers. I mean, no, I mean, it's not interesting to hear the same song just repeated note for
exactly.
note,
Exactly.
Yeah. It's just, it's cool to see other people's takes on songs, you never knew something could be done this way, right?
Right, like pagan
poetry.
See
it,
yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what, I mean, that's how I feel.
Or bye,
like
bye,
you
bye.
see, like,
I caught that one too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was just fun. I don't know.
It was fun.
We'll not talk about that one. But
from the audience side, it was also fun. It was just cool.
Yeah. But I think like I hear like orchestras doing like Where's My Mind by the Pixies or something like that, and you're just like, wow. I mean, would Frank Black ever have like thought that like interpreted it that way? So it's really, that's the cool thing about music, is every person playing influences. So
yeah, it's like art. Like no one's going to see the same piece of art the same way.
Yeah, that's 100% true. Speaking of which, speaking of having art that people have different takes on, we were talking before this just about some of Further's history and bringing different singers in and having just different paths. And you had kind of a good point about our band and how you came to it and some of the parallels with Further.
Oh, right, yeah. And I think you said it was album 3?
Right. So, and you can correct us if we're wrong, but I seem to remember when you guys, you kind of had Hide Nothing in the holster, and then Jason left and we weren't really sure what was going to happen next.
It sounds like a familiar theme, doesn't it?
It totally does.
Yeah.
Well, so with our band Stick the Landing, they had a singer who was kind of in and out, back and forth, and wasn't like 100% like had written any of the songs fully. And so around 2020, like middle of COVID and all that kind of stuff, he says our singer has kind of left the band. He's like, I'm going to throw all these songs at you. And here come like 7 songs. And they were all pre-written. And I'm like, cool. And I just put new vocals on all of them. And so he said that was kind of similar to what happened with you guys. So you had a new singer that just came in. Yeah.
Except Jason didn't have, I think he had 1 song written. He might have had more, but don't quote me if I'm wrong. Which we actually released. They wanted it early because it was on like I think it was a Tower Records comp. So it's the song Bleed from Hide Nothing that was titled There Now I Said It, that Jason did. But John totally changed the lyrics and just basically had the music, and that was one of the things, like, we always were just, we loved John's vocals, we loved Sensefield and the bands that he was in and the work that he's done. And at that point, we just wanted somebody who was going to be able to like just step right in, and they didn't have to like cut their teeth and do all those things that we did with Jason. We were all learning together, but we needed someone who was basically the consummate pro, and we got in touch with John, and Sensefield was ending around that time, and we just had just some really great talks and chemistry, and he flew down to Florida and basically lived at James Wisner's house and just wrote lyrics, and to like as you know, as he's recording, you know, which was not ideal, but he did a great job. It was pretty awesome.
Speaking about covers, when John joined you guys, was there ever any discussion of, hey, maybe we'll throw a Sensefield song in here?
Yeah, actually, John would sometimes just do a song, just him and an acoustic guitar. But yeah, I was always down to do that, but I don't remember why we didn't actually do it as a band.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it might have been maybe just a simple separation of,
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Like Sammy probably didn't do a lot of Dave songs in Van Halen. He did a couple.
Yeah, probably. We're complicated because at this point, it's like all our singers do songs from other albums.
Mm-hmm.
So, they have their favorites. And
I saw you guys at the social with Chris, and he actually said something that I thought was really sweet and kind. You guys were going into playing The Sound, and he said, this is a song that I wasn't a part of, but I really love. I wish that I was, and here it is. And I was like, this is so great. Like, this is awesome.
Yeah,
cool.
Exactly. When we were first touring and Dashboard was like in its infancy, Chris would do a Dashboard song in our set too.
Yeah, I do remember like seeing you guys, and he would come out and do a song with you. I saw the first time I saw you guys, and we'll talk about this a little bit in the next section, but I saw you guys. It was Rocking Horse Winter, and then you guys, and then Dashboard. And Chris came out and did a song with you guys. I don't remember off the top of my head which one. It might have been Moon Is Down, actually.
Yeah. We're good friends, all of us, to this day.
So before we wrap up and play this song, do you have anything to plug from the Further side? I know you guys did a run of shows late last year. We talked about maybe we'll see you at the end of this year, but what do you have to plug at the moment?
Man, it's so
if you can.
So right. Fancy plugging things. No, we're like I said, we're gonna play a couple of shows up to Fest this year in Gainesville. We're kind of looking forward to that. We're gonna be playing in St. Pete or Tampa, and also we're gonna do a show in Orlando before that, and then the Fest show. And then we have something planned that I can't say yet. Mm-hmm. But yeah,
awesome. Well, I can't wait to find out what that is.
Do we who's singing that?
Yeah, that is a good question. And I'm sorry, but with your history,
we're doing a flute record. It's all flute solos.
Oh, that's awesome. So, and I assume there's going to be like a Jethro Tull cover in there that will steal a Grammy from Metallica.
Yes, it goes without.
Obvi.
So in the style of our show, would you like to introduce the song that we're about to hear?
We're good. I could do this now.
You're allowed to say the name of the song now.
Yeah. So this song it's about living in a beach town. It's about basically where we grew up. So this is Snowbirds and Townies.
Awesome.
Super excited.
Thanks, man.
Fountains and fluorescent lights. The season has come and the snowbirds are crowding the night. The townies are tired of their beaches and bars being packed so tight. Bridges and traffic and endless selecting their flights. And on these season has come and the snowbirds are crowding the nights. Townies and tours finding unlikely love at first sight, and swear that they're never leaving, and that is their plight. And on these boats ride the hopes of working class boys dreaming of girls from faraway points, and better things like winter blings, and longing after spring has sprung. They fly north when the winter's done, and we get burned in summer's sun. And this winter is lasting forever, at least for tonight. And I know that you're never leaving until your flight takes you off and out of my arms and into the air, so far from your charms that I cannot bear another year in this long forgotten beach town we once shared. This winter is lasting forever, at least for tonight. I know that you're never leaving, never leaving me again. Not again.
Thank you for watching this episode of Under the Covers. Please like, share, subscribe, and don't be afraid to get into our comments. New episodes drop the 1st and 15th of every month, so please keep coming back for more. If you're interested in bonus episodes, blooper reels, what else? Extras. That's pretty broad, extras. Reaction videos. Yeah, we do a lot of those. We have a Patreon channel that has all of those things. It's really great. It's patreon.com/UTC Music Podcast. It's the same place you can find us at Instagram and Facebook. So look for us everywhere, UTC Music Podcast, and thank you for watching. I like stumbling over words.